I'll move this up just a little bit so it doesn't cut the top of my head off. There we go. All right, we're waiting for Facebook to push this out and then we'll start. My wife is hot. Should have put that fan on you.
I'm fine. I just took a shower.
Hi, Glenda. Glad you're here. All right, we're going to go ahead and start. I welcome you to Tree of Life Fellowship, our live Facebook video, and those of you that will come later and watch, and also anybody that watches on YouTube. I always say if you like what you heard and you believe it'll be a blessing to your friends, I'd appreciate if you'd share it on your Facebook page. Hi, Kay. Glad you're here. So last week we started teaching on Abraham's faith, and I'm going to continue on with that. That'll be the end of this particular chapter that I'm writing and studying, but I thought I'd continue that. So we're going to be in chapter 4. We stopped at verse 10 last week, so we're going to read from chapter verse 11 to verse 25. But I want to talk to you about confidence. As I sat and read these scriptures and meditated on them, the thing that stood out the most is confidence, because Paul talked a lot about confidence there. In fact, I looked it up in scripture, particularly in the New Outlook books and perception books. There's 20 different references to the word confidence. And confidence in the dictionary is the feeling or the belief one can rely on someone, something known, or in one's abilities. And we know very much people need confidence to make it in life. They really do. I spent many years in sales and many years in training people, and I found people that had all kinds of confidence. I found people that had no confidence whatsoever, particularly in the field of public speaking. My last 20 years, I was teaching people how to do public speaking and do seminars, and we would bring groups in from all over the United States, sometimes as many as 40 or 50 people at once. And so I would go out and I'd talk to them and greet them, and each one of them, and I could pretty much go back and write a list down: no confidence, confidence, no confidence, just by the way they talk with you. And then you put them up on a stage and have them present just one page of the presentation, and you can tell very quickly who has confidence and who doesn't. But the truth is, confidence can be built in anyone. It really can. If you can spend time with them and talk with them and share with them what they need to be confident about. So confidence is not about feeling superior to others. That's very important, because we find people, particularly in ministry a lot, that know a lot intellectually, and in a sense they feel superior to other people, and you can tell that. But it's a quiet inner knowledge, or a quiet inner knowing, and knowing that you're capable because of what you know. And so, as I said, there's 20 mentions of it in the New Outlook books. 20 is the biblical number for eternal redemption, which I think that's pretty cool, because the Apostle Paul was confident in everything he said, and Jesus was confident in everything that he said. In fact, at the end of Acts, chapter 28:31, it talks about Paul owning his own home. Did you know that he owned his own home? He owned his own home for 2 years. And after the Jews questioned him everything, for 2 years he spent time teaching in his home. So he had a house church. So I feel pretty good. I got a little house church here. But he had this church, and what he taught in all confidence. He had thorough understanding because he knew his Father and he knew what he had been taught. So we're going to read from verse 11 to 25. I'll try to get to it pretty quick, then I will start sharing with you. So I hope you have my book on Romans translation. If you don't have it, message me and I'll send you the PDF file, or you can purchase it online as a book. So verse 11, ritualistically, Abraham took circumcision as a signet of holiness for their religious creed. However, he, being uncircumcised at that time, existed as an example of all who put their confidence in being right, wise, and holy, acknowledging that as being a gift from Father. It's not something you earn, right? So he knew it was not from a law, or from due to be works, so that others might also reckon and consider themselves that way from that work, but that it's based on Father's holiness. It's a holy gift. I'm kind of paraphrasing here a little bit. At first, verse 12, he was the advocate of circumcision. Later, He was an advocate of the righteousness of all, whether they do or do not follow the practice of circumcision, so that they may rest their confidence in Father as exemplified by Abraham. Verse 13, the divine assurance of the goodness of Father towards Abraham did not come by him fulfilling the Mosaic law. It came through Abraham's confidence in what Father revealed to him. It came from Father's decree and declaration concerning people from the foundation of the world. For if man, by the law of doing to be or doing to get, receives any reward, it makes the truth of Father as the source of our holiness, purity, and righteousness empty, and it renders it non-effect. And if you remember, Scripture says your traditions have made the gospel non-effect. So it makes the difference, it makes the experience of divine assurance of life void and brings it to naught. Verse 15, indeed, the Mosaic law produces efforts of doing to be or doing for reward, and a sense of self-condemnation for failing to obey the law. However, where there is no Mosaic law to follow, there is no condemnation. Our correct position with Father was established from the beginning when he declared and decreed in making man as a representative figure or in resemblance. He spoke this from the foundation of the world. We experience it when we have confidence in what Father said from the foundation, and when our spirit life source reveals it within to the purpose that we know the life of Father exists, steadfast and unmovable within us. The truth is the divine assurance eternally to all offspring of Father, past, present, and future, age after age, world after world. And that is this divine assurance. It's not only to those who followed the Mosaic law, or any other due-to-be laws, but also to those who have confidence in Father as Abraham possessed. His confidence was and is an example to the whole of all people, putting this confidence in the faith of Father. You can see why I thought we might share on confidence. It's over and over. Verse 17, Father spoke to Abraham and said, you exist as an immediate figure who is resounding in righteousness by confidence in my decree and my declaration to all nations. Abraham immediately entrusted his well-being to Father, who enlivened what seemed to be dead in Abraham and Sarah. Father decreed that a child would be born of them when they could not see it. All physical evidence denied the possibility of a son being born to Abraham and Sarah. It seemed impossible that Abraham might engender what Father promised, that his physical seed would abound, generation after generation, and that he could be the immediate figure of total confidence towards Father. At 100 years of age, he was no longer impotent-minded. To me, that would be the same thing as mortal, which means liable to die. He ceased being mindful of his age. Neither did he consider that his body was old and incapable of impregnating Sarah. We need that, don't we? Not to have a baby, but we really need to cease being mindful of our age. We do. So he was not cognizant of any lack in Sarah's reproductive system. At the divine assurance of Father, he did not withdraw in unbelief, but was strong in his absolute reliance upon the decree and declaration of Father, rehearsing in his mind and continuing to tell the story of Father's decree to him. He was fully being aware of and could speak of that which Father decreed to him. He knew he and Sarah would give birth to a son. It was a done deal. Because of this, he took inventory of himself, reckoning himself to be holy, right with Father, and in the image of Father, not as a reward, not as a payment for any work, but as an eternal position which he had always held. Now, this knowledge of oneness which Abraham embraced was not revealed for his sake alone, but for all of us, and for all of those in the future who interest themselves in reckoning what Father decreed from the foundation to be so. We have confidence and are persuaded to believe. We rest in Father, who roused, raised, and awakened us all from sleep of death, disease, and the state of living a life of obscurity, of inactivity and non-existence. All of us are holy breath. One body, but many members, the many-membered man. And in verse 25, he switches over to Jesus, and he said, Jesus surrendered himself to stop the sacrificial system, which was an offense, and reveal Father's love and destroy and make void the hindering law of man. Through reviving power, he awakened the many-membered God-man, roused us from sleep and from living a life of non-existence to reveal people in their true estate as they always were from the foundation, innocent, just, holy, pure, and righteous. The reviving power to raise everyone's consciousness to the highest level was Jesus' apocalyptic disclosure to be revealed, known, believed, and received by all men, age after age, world without end. Amen. And remember, when I say men or man, we're not talking about gender. We're talking about mankind. So, what I glean, again, in these last 25 verses of chapter 4, what does it mean to be a person of confidence? That's what really just spoke out to me. And Apostle Paul was pointing out the fruit of Abraham being confident in all Father said to him. And then Paul ends the chapter with talking about Jesus' confidence of everything that was said to him and everything that he learned. And there was this power of Father in him that he could surrender himself to the judgment of the world. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I knew that somebody was going to kill me, and and I knew Father had a mandate on my life, I would really need some confidence that Father said, you're going to continue on and you're going to continue to do this. And he did. He resurrected himself. He lived out of who he was, and he continued teaching. And he taught Paul, he taught John, no telling what he's doing right now. I can't tell you, but I don't believe he's gone, because I believe he had confidence in what Father spoke. And I believe all people that have passed are still alive, but I don't know if we don't know what they're doing, because the Bible doesn't talk about that very much. But what he did, he had confidence that this would stop what was hindering people, and that was the law. And he believed it would. Did it for everybody? No. But those who believed, yes. Did it do it for everybody in our generation? No. There's a lot of people still under the law, but those who believe and will listen to the comforter messengers, then yes, it makes them free, where they experience their love and their relationship and their oneness with Father that they always had. So spiritual confidence comes from a state of thought that's continually searching the eternal ideas of Father, and the desire there is to gain spiritual truth. I want to understand that I can't stop it. I mean, I've had people tell me when I got sick, you need to stop and you just need to rest and you need to just enjoy your friends. Well, I can't. There's a mandate inside of me. It's like Jeremiah. I can't help it, because it's like fire shut up in my bones. Sometimes I need a little rest, but I'm never going to stop searching the Word, and I'm never going to stop teaching the Word. So what happens is, we don't want to get stuck in some particular religion, or stay in this place where, what if it's good enough for grandma, it's good enough for mother, it's good enough for me. Well, you stay blind there. Yeah. So I was looking up some cities' names and stuff to help me with this last night. And there's a fishing town near the Sea of Galilee named Bethesda. I'm sure you've heard of that. Bethesda means house of fishing, place of hunting, place of nets, fishing town, and hunting town. That'd be fun to live there, wouldn't it, Carl? But the idea behind that, it spiritually speaks of a consciousness of an increase of ideas, greater and more ideas of how to explain things, more ideas that Father has for us. Father had much more than we're just humans. Father had much more than we're just waiting for him to come back and get us sometime. I relate to this a lot because I fish. I love to fish, but you know what? I had to have a lot of different ideas to fish. If I throw the same lure every time, I'm never going to catch much, because sometimes fish just don't like that lure. Sometimes they want a brown lure instead of a yellow lure. So you have to have ideas, and you have to have more things in your tackle box, if you would. And so when we're ministering to people, we have to have more understanding. We have to have more truth. We have to have different ways to present to different people, right? Some people aren't ready, so you just can't unload the whole enchilada on them. You just have to give them little bites one at a time. But you can be confident that you have an increase of ways of doing things, and also you are increasing in the ideal that Father has for mankind and understanding who we are. So I read in Mark 8:22, I was looking through there, we read where there was a blind man that was brought to Jesus to be healed. And metaphorically, the blind man represents darkness of awareness. Blind always has something to do. Remember, we talk about how the Bible is all about awareness. So if a person's blind, then it's talking about a blind to a spiritual awareness. If they can see, then it's a spiritual awareness. So when we're exalted in consciousness, the darkness of the lack of understanding disappears, because revelatory light always swallows up darkness. We always talk about that. If we're in this room It's midnight, the sun's not shining, there's no light on. What do you see? Darkness. Do you shoo it away? Do you bind it? Do you rebuke it? No, you just turn the light on. And sadly, in many churches today, people have problems, and rather than turn the light on of revelation, they rebuke it, they bind it, whatever we used to do. So as we embrace the light, we experience the realization and conscious that our life has been constantly awakened, or you could say even been made new. It's not that I become a new person, but I wake up to this newness that I've always had. My awareness became new in a sense. It was always in me, but I was still in that carnal understanding, if you would. But there came a time where I was awakened, and then I'm trying to think of a better way of saying newness of life, but I guess a newness of understanding. So that happens by activity of our divine mind being allowed to influence every part of our being. I still say this, I believe it with all my heart. We need to really ask Father to put a guard over my mouth and a guard over my thoughts, a guard over what I hear, everything, what I say. Because what we say is powerful. And one person could look at something and see something one way and another one see another way. And how you see things affects your life. So as we embrace the light, we experience this realization that we are being awakened to Father's ideal for mankind and who we are. And a great picture of that to me would be the purification of oxygen in our body, our blood, if you would. Our blood flows through our heart and it gets oxygen. And then as that is used, then the blood is depleted of oxygen. And what does it do? Then it goes and it exposes itself to the air in the lung. And to me, that's a picture of making contact with Father. If you're having problems, if you're struggling, the best thing you do is expose yourself by making contact with He who is your life. Is that a good example of Father? And that's why so many people, sometimes they get, COPD, and it hardens their lungs. Is it COPD? Or CPOD, something like that, whatever it is. But it hardens their lungs, and therefore the oxygen can't get into their blood. And it's a terrible death to go through that. So in a sense, this blood becomes new again. And so in this sense, our awareness becomes new. And we're not living out of that old way of thinking. So when we live in confidence of our union with Father, what Father decreed, then we experience the meaning of another city called Beth Shean, Bethshean, and it's a house of rest. It means a house of tranquility, and it means a dwelling in quiet and a house that is secure in all things. In all things. Isn't it cool how every name in the Bible has some kind of meaning to bring a spiritual truth to us? And that's where we want to get to. We want to be that house of rest. We want to be that house of tranquility, a dwelling in quiet, not struggling, not tossing to and fro with everything that comes against us, up one moment and down the next. So it's only in this quietness of our conscious contact with Father that we find this inner sense of peace and security and this conservation that holds us up and endures our life. And when you know these things, then again, the word confidence is really important, because when you're confident, then you can go forth in all things and realize nothing's going to hinder you. Nothing's going to hold you back. So the fruit of confidence in Father of who we are is that we put our Son consciousness first. And we let our Son consciousness, not S-O-N, our Son conscious. I'm conscious that I am the Son of God. And therefore it swallows up anything else that's affected consciousness. And we come to this realization that there's but one mind, there's one source, which is Father, and there's only one body. So herein, there's no limitations whatsoever. And that's what we need to realize. There's nothing can come against me. Nothing that can hold me back. And so the person who lives in a perfect confidence looks to their inner, these are unseen by the physical eyes, spiritual source, which is the power of God that's functioning inside of them. So if you have a problem, whatever it is, basically what you have to do is just by faith look within and realize, who am I? And first thing you got to do is you got to agree with Father who you are. Are you a son of God? Or are you just mere human? Kay taught a great lesson a couple of weeks ago on that we're not humans. We never were humans. And I shared years ago the word human comes from hewn down, Hewn down. When a tree is hewn down, that's where they get that from. Trees represent people. So the doctrine that Adam fell and then they became human is not true. We're sons and daughters of God. So then from this experience, we come to what another city, it's spelled Bethtapuah, Beth Tapua. And it's a city on the hill. Don't laugh at me. That's how you pronounce it. I looked it up. It is a funny name, though. But it's a city on a hill country in Judea. And it embodies this idea. It embodies a consciousness of fruitfulness, a consciousness of prosperity, a consciousness of abundance, which is a prosperous consciousness. Now, what do most people think of when they think prosper? That's right. The Bible even talks about the Lord will help you prosper and make you prosper. And of course, carnally minded teachers get up and teach that, well, that's about money. But you have to do something first. What do you have to do? You have to tithe and you have to give. There's always a rule put on top of that. So most people hear teachers use that like fruitfulness, prosperity. They think of money, cars, houses, and more. And I understand why, because that's where Western Christian evangelical has taught that for many, many years. But the truth is, those things are not spiritual wealth that this is talking about. Those things are material. And what can material do? It can rust. It can perish. As far as time, the actual time of the world, these things you see here will perish just in a puff, just like that. As far as the thousands and thousands of years. So they're not spiritual. So the difference between spiritual prosperity and material prosperity is that spiritual prosperity is founded on understanding of that it's inexhaustible, it's omnipresent, it's the very substance of Father in us, and Father is our source of supply. And the material belief is that possession of things, that belief is that the possession of things establish prosperity. And I was thinking about this last night. Father is our true supply. Father is the source of all things. Father is the source of our food, right? How can that be? So every day he gives me new food? No, it's what he declared from the foundation, and he said, let it be. Father, from the foundation, created a seed, and every time that seed, any seed that you plant produces, that's the life of Father function in that seed. Seeds amaze me, Ann. How I can take a little bitty dried up looking sunflower seed and it grow 10 foot tall and make a flower that big. I don't think anybody can really explain that. I mean, they can do photosynthesis and all, but to explain how that little dinky thing can turn into something so big.
Pretty amazing.
And it's what Father did from the foundation of the world, right? And seeds after its kind, and they continue to produce and produce and produce. So how much more then can a bad seed, which could be an idea or a thought that's planted inside of us, that it can grow? It can. And that's the untruths that we've been taught most of our life. And that's why most people are at where they're at today. That's why we do have sickness and disease and a sense of lack and all. That's because we taught that we're just merely human and we're waiting on Jesus to come back and do something. And we have believed that when Jesus comes back, this whole world's going to be his kingdom, and he's going to provide all the food that we ever need and healings and everything that he did in this earth walk, because that's what most people want. That's not the seed that God planted in him. The seed that God planted in him is a sure word of truth, and it's been spread through many, many comforter messengers today. So true prosperity is based on the conscious possession of the idea of Father's abundance of all things. That there's nothing that's required tomorrow that won't be there. Whatever's required tomorrow, I know, I have confidence. My life has proved it. I have confidence it'll just be there. And I don't have to worry about that. I know many of you do too. So things come and go, but the idea of abundance endures. So I could say, well, looky here, I won $100. But the truth is, I have all the $100 bills that I'll ever need. That's my mindset. It's nice that I get $50 a day or $20 a day, or, I call Donna and say, somebody sent us $50. That's wonderful. But the truth is whatever's going to required there, it's just going to be there. And that's true of everything else too. So things appear at its command. What the command? At your confidence. If you go somewhere in confidence, then you don't worry about it. What did Father tell the disciples when he sent them out? He told them not to bring anything with them, didn't he? Just took their clothes, but they lacked nothing because it was there. The people gave. There's all kinds of things that happened because they went in confidence that they could trust the Father. Jesus had no physical possessions whatsoever, but he never lacked whatsoever.
It reminds me of the manna.
Talk loud. It what?
The manna.
You
know, it says not to hoard it up.
Right.
Because it will spoil and stuff. It's your daily needs. He knows
Right.
your daily needs.
There's a real spiritual picture there, because if you don't believe it's a daily need, then you think you've got to acquire more and more and more. And then you can lose it. And if that's what you're putting your faith in, then people jump out of windows, right? That happened during what they call the Great Depression. People had all kinds of money, and one day it was gone. Their source was that money, and so they jumped out of their windows. It's not good. So it's interesting, though, that Jesus had no visible possessions, but he could simply supply thousands of people with food, right? Because he knew how to function out of the source, how to function out of Father, how so many loaves of bread and a few fishes could be multiplied by just believing it. So true prosperity is the consciousness that Father is the Father of abundance. He's an everywhere present source. Father's unfailing. Father's ready for all who open themselves to his eternal source and put their faith in Father's faith. When that came to me not too long ago, that it's not my faith, but it's my faith in Father's faith. Father has great faith in us, Carl. He has great faith in you. You got to know that. Just like when we had children, we had faith in our children. We believed that they would do good. We believed things for them. So in Psalms 34:10, in the King James Version, it says, "The young lions do lack and suffer hunger, but they seek the Lord. They that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing." Which that sounds nice, but this is how I say it. Excuse me. Those who lack a spiritual awareness and seek that which is material will experience a strong sense of lack and hunger, because that which they seek is temporal and perishes as quick as it appears. But they who ascertain, seek, and desire to know and stay in contact with Father in spirit and in truth shall not want anything. Father said is good and eternal. So, and Father, everything Father created, what did he say? It is good. It is good. It is good. And so the material thought of sense consciousness resists the thoughts of the divine mind. So if we're always thankful for, I have 5 tractors, I have 5 shovels, I'm never going to lack. I'm talking about my friend Carl, he's a farmer. You go to most people's barns or their sheds, they have 5 or 6 of this or 5 or 6 of that. And I always laugh when I go out there sometimes, Carl, I've been meaning to tell you, when I open your gate and I'm looking in your barn in there's 4 or 5 shovels there. And I think the other day when I was looking at it, I thought, those are just sitting there rusting. But we have them, right? But you get what I'm saying? But we don't put our confidence in that. I'm sure there's some things out there Carl's had for a long time, and he thought, one of these days I'm going to need that. And then he goes out there to find it, and it's all rusted up, or the mice got into it and destroyed it, or whatever. Yeah, that was the manna that got destroyed, if you would. But to possess this true confidence, we need teachers who know the true and living God. I don't know too many people that grew up with a teacher that knew Father. They knew a version of Father, but they didn't know Father. And we need teachers that know Father. We need comforter messengers that can bring a word to us and help us. And then we need to embrace that. This knowledge, if you would, it generates in the individual who's entered into that consciousness. And there's a devotion to spiritual things then. Then there's a unification with spirit. And there's a union with the actual ideas that Father wanted for mankind. And what it does, it lifts us to the highest heavenly thought that we can have. And of course, we know the heavens are in here. It's a heavenly consciousness, if you would. So I was thinking last night about doves. And doves symbolize what? Peace. That's right. Peace in one's consciousness. We're wanting peace in the world. Well, we're not going to get peace in the world until people's consciousness enters into peace. Not peace by having things, but the peace of God, the peace that the divine law of Father provides for us. The dove is non-resistant. Did you know that? They're not fighting animals, birds. They're non-resistant. In this state of consciousness, then you can rest, and confidence is restored, and all enmity is overcome through conversations with Father, and there's that calm, quiet meditation, and it brings peace to our lives. So these make contact with the great I exist in you, and all thought realms are lightened up to know the divine mind and the divine will of your Father in your life. So those who are conscious of being in perfect contact with Father then are filled with this quietness. And I taught last week, and I talked a little bit about the firmament, but our firmament is a place of unwavering place in consciousness. That's what the firmament, when the Bible talks about the firmament. And the firmament amid the waters is an idea of confidence, of faith in that which is true, but seems invisible. We can look in the Word of God sometimes and think, is this really true? Or we can listen to a minister preach, is this really true? Because it seems invisible. But you don't have to see it with your physical eyes. It's a knowing. I would much rather know something than just see it, because when I know it, that's when it affects my life. So confidence in a person brings true hope, which is an expectation of what? Good in the face of maybe seeming darkness or seeming lack, and the light of apparent darkness. Because, we can look at the world today and think, wow, the world is really getting dark. But it's not. It just looks dark. It's the seeing of the eye, hearing of the ear, the stuff we hear on the news, the stuff. But it's not. A lot of that news is a lie. And I made a post the other day on Facebook about this, but the church for years has used fear to control us. They, in the charismatic field or whatever, they used the fear of a rapture coming any time, that God was going to come and get the faithful, and Jesus was going to come and set up his throne, and then the unfaithful were going to face a place called hell, and the faithful gets to go to heaven. It's all about reward, right? So we think that we've lived so well that we deserve a reward. Well, we don't deserve a reward. We already have everything that we need. If you're hearing fear out of any message, you need to run from it. You just need to let it go. Brother Garner said years ago, and I like what he said. He said, when you go to listen to minister, the first thing you need to do is look and see what they have in their hands. And if what they have is you work, you labor, you follow laws, you give your money, you give all this stuff, then run. Because what I want in my hands is the true bread and wine of the gospel. It's the beauty. I titled part of my book that I'm getting ready to release. It's the beauty of Jesus' gospel. What Jesus tried to reveal to people was beautiful. And I believe some embrace it. Paul did, John did. I believe there were some people that did, but most didn't, because they were under that heavy control of religion. So we must not put our confidence in material conditions around us then. Not just material things, but material conditions. I don't put my confidence in the fact that if a certain president gets elected, that everything's going to be okay, right? My confidence is people are going to wake up and realize that we're the ones that own this world. We're the ones that have dominion over this world. We can take care of ourselves. We don't need kings and queens and all those people taking care of us. Yes, we need government for certain things, but it needs to be people that are looking out for other generations. They're called statesmen, and we really need some statesmen today. So faith in material thoughts and beliefs creates an unbalanced state of awareness where we're tossed to and fro by everything that comes down the pike. Now, in ancient times, there was a man named Harhas, Donna. They got funny names. His name in Hebrew means glitter, splendor, glow of confidence. I thought that was so cool. So metaphorically, his name speaks of a person who zealously looks on the bright side of things. Wouldn't you rather run around with somebody like that? That looks on the bright side of things, making a brilliant showing of light. These are things that his name means. And in the truth of the face of seeming poverty and lack, he sees the light. By holding to the truth of one's being and giving way to those appearances, you bring hope and you bring strength into evidence in your life. You know, one person can see the clouds beautiful, the other person can see the clouds ugly. You know, you can say, wow, that is so pretty out there, and another person can say something bad about it. Well, we want to be this guy, who's zealously looking on the bright side of all things. So the idea of physical strength must be given up, and our spiritual source must be realized. It's not just because I know what I'm doing, but it's because the Father is doing the doing through me. Father is the one that's equipped me to do all these things. So the carnally minded will must be given up to the divine will. So one should let confidence and peace pervade their awareness and know that, like Paul said, you can do all things through contact with Father that strengthens you. I know it says Christ that strengthens you, but it's not Jesus that strengthens you. It's contact with Father, or Christ could be the type of life that you are. So we need to look for speedily fulfillment of these things that Father has said for us. You can drive away the birds of prey that Abram did. You know, it talks about him driving away the birds of prey. The birds of prey are those things that come in, those thoughts that are trying to eat away at what you really believe and eat away at who you are and keep you pressed down all the time. And it's a system. And so thus we can see the Apostle Paul wrote his letters to the churches, and it says he spoke to people, he taught with all confidence. Paul spoke in frankness. Paul spoke with bluntness, all outspokenness, with great assurance, because he was taught by Jesus and because he heard Father's voice. You know, in his thoughts, he was fully assured that he was the mandate to say and do what the source Father gave him to do that day. It's just like doctors. I see a lot of doctors, and that doctor that operated on me, I'm telling you, he was a pretty sharp dude, wasn't he? I forget what I asked him, but it kind of offended him. Something about how he knows to do something or whatever. But it's like I say all the time, you know, asking me how I know these things is like asking a doctor, how do you know you can go into the heart and the lung? Well, I spent my whole life doing that, you know, but he was confident. And I was thinking about it last night. The surgery that I had done is an unbelievable surgery. He averages 2 of those a day, at least 3 to 4 days a week. That's a lot of confidence. It's just knowing that you know, I do this, I do this, I do this. It comes with practice too, of knowing what to do. Several years ago, my very good friend Vicki Rust,
And he depends on the Lord too.
huh?
He depends on the Lord.
Well, yes, he does. He knows that all knowledge comes from God, and yes, he did. They prayed over me before they did the surgery, and I like that when doctors and nurses do that. But my friend Vicki Rust, you guys know Vicki, but when she was my manager, I shared a lot of things with some of the people. You know, to me, I just can't keep my mouth shut sometimes. But some of them were privately talking to her and thought I was kind of weird and kind of outspoken a lot, you know, just saying what I thought. And this lady said that I was blunt and outspoken, is what she said, I think. And Vicki replied to her and said, yes, he's bold and he's blunt, but he has the knowledge and understanding to back it up. And Jesus was blunt. And he spoke to the Pharisees he wasn't angry, he was just blunt. And he was bold because he had confidence, and he knew, and he possessed great understanding and confidence, and he understood the mandate that he had in his life. And Paul understood the mandate that he has in his life. And I understand it with me, and I know Kay does too. And I'm sure other ministers do. But in closing here, I wrote this down yesterday, and I want to say it because I feel this, and you guys know it, but I love all people. And my love has the assurance of truth behind it. I know I can love you no matter what you're doing or who you are. I can look at what the world thinks is the worst person in the world, and I can love them. I don't condone what they're doing, but I still love them. The love of Father I know and have goes forth with confidence. It goes forth with courage. Love goes forth with power in both thought and word when you love. When you let people love. And that's why I say I live my life in love. Some people don't know if that makes sense, but I live it in love. I look at Carl's Ponds and I say, I love those. I think they're beautiful. I love the farm. I think they're beautiful. I love vacations. Every place I've ever gone in the world, we say, I love this. I know you guys do too. But I always ask Father to cause what I say and do to be pregnant with love. Every time I study and teach, I say, Lord, Help the people feel love. Help me present this with love, not condemnation.
Yes.
Not you got to do something, but with love. Because the fruit of our holy breath is what? Love. You know, most people think the long suffering and all that's the fruit, but it's not. The fruit is love. And when you love without a cause, because it's agape love, in other words, I don't love you because you're pretty. I don't love you because you're nice to me. I don't love you because anything. I just love you. And we need to get where we can tell people, I just love you. Well, why do you love me? I just love you. Because if you do the because, then that because can go away, right? So when we have that agape love for everyone, then our characteristics are joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith in Father's faith, meekness, and temperance. And that's what the world needs. That's why if our politicians would do this, if our bankers would do this, if our business owners would do this, if our husbands, our wives, everybody would just begin to function out of love, that's all the world needs, is to live out of the fruit of their spirit. And that's right, Leonard, it's totally unconditional. So I have confidence in all these things that Father has revealed to me and has led to me. It led me to do. It's in the confidence of Father's love at work in me that I present these truths to you, that you may in turn love all people in your world and present these truths to them. Because it's no good if you sit here and listen to it in your home or whatever and you do nothing with it. And I always say, I do not study for me anymore. Brother Garner years ago told me it's time for you to quit studying for you and start studying for the people. And I that really meant something to me. But I am confident in the Father's mandate and mission in my life that I will continue, and I do to further everything I can do to further the beauty of the gospel of Jesus Christ, what he sought to teach. I have confidence that what I've taught for many years is going forth as a great seed, and that fruit thereof will remain and nurture generation after generation after generation through other people. I believe those who are intelligently listening to comfort messengers of this day will continue their journey and do more than what we've done. I believe that. So wherever you are in your journey, do not cast away your confidence. Keep in patience and see the great things that will take place through and in your lives. You highly favor our Father, and you are highly blessed to be able to hear these things that the Apostle Paul said. He said, if there is anything worth thinking on, think on these things. What things are those? The living word is true, honest, just, pure, lovely, of an excellent report, filled with virtue, and can be told to generation after generation after generation.
Yes, amen.
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 And that word praise, when we talk about praise, that means to tell the story. So when you worship, which means ascertain and seek and desire to know the truth, then you can tell the story. Hi, Norma. Good to see you. So we love you guys. We appreciate you being here today. I hope you enjoyed what you learned, and I will see you back next week. And as always, I would appreciate if you'd share this on your Facebook page and get the word out. God bless you. Bye-bye.